All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. What lessons have the radical liberals learned in the 3 weeks since the American people handed President Donald Trump the single most substantial political comeback in the history of planet Earth? Have the liberals learned anything? Are they capable of any kind of decent, of any kind of meaningful self-reflection on what they did wrong and where they steered themselves wrong, where their campaign floundered, the candidate they chose? Have they done any reflection? Apparently not very much. They have not only seemed to miss the opportunity to self-reflect, they are doubling down on the nonsense that the American people soundly rejected. All of this and much more. Liberal lessons not learned, ladies and gentlemen. Today, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we
are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. We stand shoulder to shoulder. What a glorious 3 weeks it has been. Have you noticed the sunrises? Even if it's a rainy day, the sunrises are warmer, brighter. The American future looks better. American exceptionalism is back. President Trump will return. Keep him alive, Secret Service. Keep him alive. That's our prayer now. Keep him alive. But the American people have unified, and we have a lot to think about. We have a lot to thank the radical liberal agenda, actually, because they're the ones who unified us against them. The radical liberal agenda, the irony and the paradox of it all is that they have unified us against their entire agenda. It's true. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about the liberal lessons that have not been learned. Now that the economy will be steered in a better direction, that you'll be able to actually put milk in your refrigerator, you'll be able to feed the kids and so forth without worry, and you can probably breathe a lot easier. I want to tell you about gold and silver, though. I know everybody and their brother is talking about this. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. This is not a hard sell, my friends. You know me better than that. I just want to get you information into your hands. The most affordable rates. You do not have to be rich in order to do this. With a minimum of $250 to $500, the good people at freedomgoldusa.com/Doug will talk to you and work your way through it, how you can diversify your portfolio, your 401k, your pension, your retirement funds into gold and silver. Start out slow if you're uncertain about it, but look, when times are good, gold and silver is good. And when times are bad, gold and silver is even better. freedomgoldusa.com. Please, ladies and gentlemen, head over there. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. You will be happy that you did. And anybody can do this, folks. Anybody can do it. You can get physical gold. You can get gold in notes and silver. You can do it. Anyone can do it. All right. So the program today, ladies and gentlemen, the sunrise, the sunshine in America, a lot better. And it's a lot better around the world. And the radical liberal left, obviously, as you can tell, are having meltdowns. Absolutely so. And it's glorious to watch. I'm going to give myself about another week, and then we'll get down to work, and we'll stop gloating, and we'll stop, showing off, right? We're kind of like in the end zone. We're doing how do you do the Trump boogie? We're all doing it. You see the trend, even the high school, grade school, middle school, college, professional athletes, whenever they score a goal or a touchdown, they're doing the Trump boogie, and I love it. It's a phenomenon, and it just goes to show you there has always been many more of us than there have been of them throughout the republic. So it's good news all the way around. I couldn't be in a better mood because of this. And you, ladies and gentlemen, you have done it. We, the people, have done it. The grassroots MAGA conservative movement across this republic are responsible for the victories. We have not only been engaged in our local levels of government to elect MAGA conservative people to office in our local counties where we live, but we've also, did you notice, there's 10 to 15, maybe 20 million votes that are now just off the board. Where'd they go? What happened to them? Well, it's because of you good people. It's because you've cleaned up voter registration rolls and you've prevented, Henry Wadsworth, who died in 1832, from voting in 2024, that kind of thing. So good work. We, the people, still a lot of work to do, but we can take a few days and weeks to enjoy it and relish it. America is back on track. I think it's important that we understand we have a lot of work to do. Look at what they're talking about in the Senate with regards to President Trump's appointment and administration picks, the threat that they're not going to get approved. We've got to weed out those problems. There is no one in the Senate who should be voting against President Trump. The American people have given him, President Trump, the world's most significant comeback political victory in the history of mankind, in the history of Earth. And so, yes, there's a mandate. The popular vote was won. And if these senators, him or they haw, they say no, we then have another task at hand, and that is the next primary season. We primary them and we get them out. This is the dawning of the MAGA millennium. We are in it. This is our time, and we will and must remain steadfast in our ability to do the work of what I call determined patriotism. That's the hard work of it all. Julie 25, good to see you over there on X. I hope they keep doubling down on their woke because it helps us. Yeah, you're right. They double down. They haven't learned a damn thing, and it does help us. Every time they come out, every time a talking head on the legacy media, which is dead, by the way, and I'm going to get to that today and talk about that. MSNBC is up for sale. CNN hasn't seen these ratings as bad in 30 years. 30 years. But every time they double down, it makes our agenda rise. The American people have been loud and clear. The woke, radical, liberal agenda in this country is over. No more. Look, if you've listened to this show for any length of time at all, I've said to you that the Democrat Party does not exist anymore. It does not. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. The Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy, are you kidding me? Gone, long gone. I mean, my God, the Democrat Party of Bill Clinton doesn't even exist anymore. But we're riding on the wave of this most historical, substantive political victory in the history of mankind. We have got to get our local levels of government in shape. We still have a lot of work to do. Look, your state, your county, where you live, forget D.C. for a moment. We just had a huge presidential victory, a lot of Senate, a lot of House representative victories. Okay, that's all fine and good. We've got 2 years to take a deep breath because we've got primaries coming up in 2026. We have a lot of work to do to make sure this wave continues. Look at your local counties, though, your state legislators, your governors, your mayors, your city aldermen, your board of county commissioners, school boards, all of it. A lot of work, determined patriotism. So we're beginning to see some specific ways in which President Trump and his administration are going to begin to do all of this work to rid the country of the corruption, of the immorality, of the evil that has woven its way into the government for the last 198 years, literally. And I want to talk a little bit about what this means, his picks, his choices for his administration. Bobby Kennedy Jr. loved it when he came over to Trump's side. Now, MAGA conservatives don't see necessarily eye to eye with Bobby on every single issue, but that is okay. MAGA conservatives, make sure when you run into and meet Bobby Kennedy conservatives, you welcome them. That's how we won this thing. Our tent is huge. Bobby Kennedy, as the Secretary of Health and Human Services, just think, I called this a few months ago. I told you that's exactly what he was going to be doing. And just wait. I mean, He's going to go after the FDA, the CDC, which is under the umbrella of the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He's going to go after Big Pharma. As we begin to see the justice that will be served across the republic, let me remind you, though, the justice, quote unquote, that we will seek and that we will obtain is not to be confused with retribution. It's not to be confused with revenge. It's not to be confused with us doing what they did to Trump. And Trump had a great interview that was released from Fox News today. I posted it on X, and I believe I put it on Facebook as well. But check it out over on X under my name and on my post. It's brilliant. And he says he's not in this for an eye for an eye. He's not in there to take retribution. Now, we will see justice, and we will understand that justice most resembles peace. Justice does not resemble tyranny. We will not go after these radical left thugs who have circumvented our government. We will not return, lawfare for lawfare. We are not going to go after them, round them up, swat them at their homes, and put them in Gitmo. That's ridiculous. Not only is that a bad idea, it's un-American. We do not rid America of tyranny with tyranny, if you know what I mean. We have got to go after this in a methodical American way, and we're going to do it. Trump's going to do it, and it's not about revenge. They talk about this retribution, some of these influencers out here, and I have sworn an oath to tell you the truth, and I tell you the truth. Retribution, rounding people up, political figures, scientists, public figures, etc., that's what the Communist Socialist Party does, the formerly known as Democrat Party. That's what they do. That's tyranny. That is not MAGA. That is not conservatives. We don't begin, again, as I said, to remedy tyranny by enacting tyranny. So people like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Bobby Kennedy Jr., or anyone else who's right thinking and speaking about holding people accountable, we're going to do that through things and through the rubrics of American law and the Constitution. For people who have a microphone or have an avenue to certain segments of American population, whether it's a large platform on a social media platform like X, they need to be careful about the word retribution, because it leads people down a road that is unnecessary, and it frankly won't happen. It's a form of opium, and I understand the outrage. Look, we have J6 prisoners we need to pardon and get out. We need to go after the J6 commission and the committee and look at the tapes and understand what really happened and tell the truth, that it was radical left liberal extremists who dressed up as MAGA supporters and incited that violence. And we'll get there. We'll get to that portion of justice. But again, we don't achieve justice by doing what the radical left has done to President Trump or to the J6 people or to any of us. We don't do it that way. That's not us. It's not pro-America to do it that way. So that means we engage in determined patriotism. It's hard work. And determined patriotism often requires the virtue of patience. Aside from in addition to the hard work of it all, we have to engage in patience. We're going to get there. We're going to arrive at justice. Justice is pursued with intellectual maturity, pursued with vigor, and the prudence that the Founding Fathers required when they set our system of government and laws up. The conservative approach to following law and order and the precepts that are set forth by our founders are the only way forward for us. That's the only way that we will win. Most of us, the vast majority of us in the MAGA movement, understand that. All right. Enough said about all of that. Now, Bobby Kennedy going after Big Pharma, and he will go after them. He is not an anti-vax kook. He is a man who wants to see vaccines tested. He wants to see vaccines be safe. I've got a clip here. I just want to let him speak for himself. It's just about 2 minutes. Take a look. This is Bobby Kennedy laying out why and how Big Pharma has been so successful and the problems that we face as we begin then to deconstruct what they've established. Here's Bobby Kennedy.
I was saying not one of the 72 vaccines mandated for children has ever been safety tested in pre-licensing placebo-controlled trials, not one. Tony Fauci was saying he's lying. In 2016, President Trump appointed me to run a vaccine safety commission. And he ordered Fauci and Collins to meet with me with White House counsel, present. And I said to Fauci at that meeting, you say I'm lying. For 8 years, you've been saying I'm lying about this. Show me the study. And he said, I don't have it here. It's back in Bethesda. And I'll send it to you. I never got it. So I sued him. Me and Aaron Siri, and after stonewalling us for a year, their lawyers met us on the courthouse steps and said, yep, you're right. We never had any study. And they gave it to us in writing. You can go to the CHD website, my website, and you can see that letter from HHS. There's no downstream liability. There's no front-end safety testing. That saves them $250 million. And there's no marketing and advertising costs because the federal government is ordering them ordering 78 million school kids to take that vaccine every year. What better product could you have? And so there was a gold rush to add all these new vaccines to the schedule that we don't need. Most of these vaccines are unnecessary. Many of them are for diseases that are not even casually contagious. It was a gold rush because if you get onto that schedule, the recommended schedule, it's $1 billion a year for your.
It's $1 billion for your company if you get in on that schedule. It's a good gig if you can get it. And so Bobby Kennedy is going to go after this. I mean, he's in charge of the FDA, the CDC, in his role as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Mark my words, he's going to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization. We're going to see an entirely new page of history turned in America, and it is a bright new chapter. Significant. And the radical left still has not reflected on why the American people want this, why we gleaned on to Bobby Kennedy Jr., the significance of his choice to come over to our side, bringing with him vast support. The radical left still doesn't see it. They're incapable. Now, they're just not as smart as us. I understand that. But they don't get it. And they instead, in many cases, have doubled down on their attacks against Bobby Kennedy and the entire MAGA movement, calling us a bunch of kooks, bunch of, Hitlers and neo-Nazis and all. They haven't learned any lessons. They continue to gaslight. They continue to project their own anti-American agenda onto the very public that 3 weeks ago delivered President Trump a landslide. So no, they haven't learned. And as a result of this, you've got MSNBC, who has lost half. Ladies and gentlemen, words are important. MSNBC has lost half of their primetime audience. And that's all. That includes Rachel Maddow in the evenings and Morning Joe in the mornings. It's so bad over there that Comcast, the company that owns MSNBC, has put it on the market for sale. Now, wouldn't it be great? Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably not. But wow, what a dream. If you're going to allow yourself to dream, we could use a real true MAGA conservative network, Elon, if you catch my drift. Why not? And if so, call me. Let me know, because I'm at your service. It would be interesting to see. CNN, again, has just seen their lowest ratings in 30 years post-election 2024. They're going to lay off and fire most of their panelists and contributors. Watch. This is not just my speculation. This is the truth. They've said it in closed-door meetings. I'm telling you, it's happening. A few things are certain. For people like you, ladies and gentlemen, who have any shred of intellectual maturity, here's what's obvious. The radical left agenda has been soundly rejected by the American people in a landslide fashion. Number two, legacy media, especially liberal legacy media, is dead in America. And on its death certificate, the cause of death is listed as suicide. They've killed themselves. They did it to themselves with their non-relenting, never-ending mantra of Hitler, Nazis, dictator, garbage, all of the things they did, and putting forth candidates that could never win anyway. The agenda items that we're talking about in this country as a result of the radical communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, is outstandingly evil. Look at it. the topics of discussion that were in this past election, the fiction of transgenderism, that your gender was somehow misappropriated, that is a fiction, and it is a mental illness. And the agenda items put forth by this radical left Communist Socialist Party in America during this election season involving that topic was that they advocated that children who believe in this fiction, or whose parents believe in this fiction of gender misappropriation, that in order for these children to become happy, they would have to mutilate their genitalia. That's what the radical left agenda is. And America, in a resounding fashion, said no. Hell no, in fact. And we voted them out. We shut them up. It's absolute. Women and men in women's sports, another one. Boys going into girls' bathrooms. It's not pornography in school libraries and classrooms. It made me believe, and I really do believe, that this past presidential election with Kamala and Tim Walz, who's the poster man for the wussification of the American male, by the way, it made me believe that the presidency was not their number one goal. How could it have been? Look at what they did. Are you kidding me? But their number one goal was, and they were successful at it, their number one goal from the radical liberal agenda was to move the discussion, the social and political discussion in this country, as far to the left as possible. So that now we're talking about this evil, this immorality, gender misappropriation, transgender surgery. Children, in order to be happy, have to mutilate their genitalia. I understand those are horrible words to say and to hear, but those are the words of what is happening in America. And those are the words that American people said no to. We are in a revolution in America. It's a revolution that does not involve weapons or shooting. It is a revolution against liberalism. We are in a revolution against immorality. And we are in a revolution against evil. This has been a spiritual battle. I've said it, the greatest reawakening in the history of America, back to the divine providence of God. I said that the week that I started my show, February of 2021. The reawakening to the divine providence of God is at its greatest peak right now. And I mean, even better than and more so than what the founding fathers experienced. This is the dawn of the MAGA millennium. We are winning, and we will continue to win as long as we, the people, engage in our local levels of government. That's how we do it. Your counties, wherever you live, make sure that you're getting involved. It's because of your involvement that we quelled most of, not all, but a lot of the cheat. We had paid and volunteer election observers. We understand that the radical left is going to melt down and continue to call us what they will. Check it out. If you think that they have not learned any lessons, in the final few minutes of today's short program, let me show you this. Let me show you a montage of the meltdowns that the radical left is continuing to have, and proof that they're not reflecting, at least in a substantive matter, about why and how they lost this election. And it's much broader and deeper than just the cackle of Kamala Harris. It's much broader and deeper than the wussified Tim Walz, who made no strategic sense as a choice for vice president. Really, from Minnesota? It had no strategic value to the Electoral College. Minnesota has not been won by a Republican in generations. I mean, Ronald Reagan didn't even win Minnesota. And Ronald Reagan won every state but Minnesota. So why did they choose Walz? Why not Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, a state that does hold vast strategic value in the Electoral College? It's back to my point. The presidency was perhaps not their number one goal, but to move the needle socially and politically as far to the left was. So therefore, Tim Walz makes sense. Kamala is already the most radically liberal nominee for president in our republic's history. Tim Walz is the second. So it was that choice that solidified their loss. They couldn't get rid of Kamala because, as you know, she's a DEI hire. So they had to ride that candidate out, and she failed. Nobody in the party likes her. Nothing has changed since 2020 when you all saw the montage of that, of how they hated her and thought she was the worst candidate possible. But America, as it turns out, is still a country of morality. And they abjectly and wholeheartedly and in a landslide rejected the liberal agenda. But today and this week, they still don't get it. Take a look at the meltdowns and the inability of the radical left to look in the mirror and see the truth. Check it out.
And President-elect Donald Trump has just announced a new name to be added to his incoming administration.
You're exactly right. He's just flooding the zone with shit to hope to get maybe other appointees down the line. Because they got to absorb these bunch of idiots, right, that are coming out right now.
Oh my God. I mean, those of us who have spent our lifetime, kind of decades working in and around in HHS, I'm not kidding, Nicole, my texts are flying off the chain, both Democrats and Republicans saying, this can't be real. Someone must have gotten this wrong. This can't be possible. And now the second underlying chain, there's some silver linings. The second thought I had is, he can't get confirmed, can he? But
I don't know what you want me to say. I am just at a loss because we're watching something happen in slow motion that is terrifying. You know, the reason we have a great country is because there are pillars in place. There are columns and structures, just like in your house, columns and pillars that you don't see, but they keep things in a good place. They keep things in a good direction. We have healthy children because there are people who've made sure that there are things in place for that. And right now we're seeing termites unleashed on everything. And this is a termite appointment. We know for sure that Bobby Kennedy is a vaccine denier. He's a vaccine denier. He denies being a denier.
But this is the absolute triumph and takeover of the Republican Party by MAGA. And it will be the takeover of the U.S. government by MAGA if the Senate lets all of these people.
So you see, Jamie Raskins there doesn't often say anything that's true, but he was spot on there. It is the MAGA takeover. The MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement, is flourishing, and it's taking over. And the Senate will confirm these nominees to Trump's administration, either in recess appointment or President Trump will get out his executive pen and put the word acting in front of their titles. And that will give him almost 2 years to work with them to get it sorted out and to get it done. So, yes, deep breath. We have a lot of work to do. A lot of these people putting up a fight now, but after January 20th, when Trump is sworn in on Inauguration Day, the tempo and the modulation of this will change. And you'll see, I think, the Senate come around. So I look forward to seeing this with you happen. And ladies and gentlemen, again, we are in a great place. America, as I've told you for the last 4 years, America is not on her deathbed. She never was. Now, she was in one hell of a nightmare, 100%. But the good news is, as we've been seeing, that everybody wakes up from the nightmares. Everybody. Now, we have a lot of people to wake up yet. Our work is not yet done. We're not complacent. We're enjoying these past 3 weeks. We're enjoying the fact that Trump just killed it, knocked it out of the park. And we're enjoying the phenomenon of what the MAGA movement has brought. I mentioned at the beginning of the program, these kids in their sports doing the Trump boogie when they score points and touchdowns and goals. I love it. I know that you do too. Okay, so today, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I'll be back later on this evening and then tomorrow as well. Please continue to support us over at DougBillings.us. I only take voluntary contributions over there, DougBillings.us. We are in this together. That's how I afford to bring you the program. And don't forget, freedomgoldusa.com. If you are at a point where you want to get information, you don't have to be rich to do this. It doesn't take a lot of money. $250, $500 will get you started with investing and diversifying your portfolio into gold and silver. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug, our sponsor for the program today. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, we're in this thing together, you and I. I stand with you shoulder to shoulder. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.